So before we get into all that, you have the floor. Let me know what you thought about Blindspotting.
I kind of loved it.
Nice.
This is one of the very few, I have to give it it's one of these scores that I never really give since we started the show, which is basically what is above high IMAX. And yeah, it's above high IMAX.
It's a gemstone
Right.
then, yeah. And they could have shot a gemstone.
I don't call it a gemstone, but it's called a GT now. That's my highest score possible. This is a GT, you get through. This is the best of the best score I could give something. So movies like The Dark Knight get the GT, right?
Yes.
This I did not expect to be this good. Like, it's still a little rough around the edges at parts, but it's all of the so-called rough edges stuff is just more like amateur filmmaking that you tend to appreciate anyway. So yeah, again, all of that stuff really remind me of a kind of young Spike Lee.
Yes.
You know what this kind of remind me of a little bit? It feels like a millennial version of Training Day, if you understand that. That's how I think of
the black-white dynamic.
A little bit.
Because it's not set in a day. I mean, just say it, but
right. It's not a single day or anything like that. But it's just this period of there's crime involved. There's it's not police officers or law enforcement, but there's just two characters kind of going through the day, and then their shenanigans lead them to a apotheosis point. Right. But it does involve law enforcement, but not them. And this movie covers everything very intelligently, in my opinion. So it covers class, it covers race, it's Oakland, so it covers a lot of gentrification stuff. Again, the main character is a really, really good charismatic character. He and his girlfriend, I like what they do with that.
Yeah. I love those moments with the two of them together.
Right.
Yeah.
They build it up quite intelligently. You'll understand why the crime played out the way it did. And how he got in prison. They get into the race dynamic of that. How, you say, I like how they played off the girlfriend and the friend. That because you can understand both arguments, right?
Yes.
He thinks she's disloyal because she never visited him, and then she's making the argument, no, the only reason he's quote-unquote loyal is because of guilt. He should have gone along with you in prison.
Yes.
And the only reason he is because of race. And you're not too sure if that's the case, but then they make his case of what it is for a white guy to grow up in that part of LA to be like. It's not like he's some fake or come from the outside, right? He is born and bred Oakland. So it's not like he's non-genuine. And they get into all the intricacies and nuances of that, and I thought that was good. Yeah. But the movie was going normal, and I thought the movie could have ended at a certain point. You think, all right, we're done. I said, this is fine, not so brilliant, but just good. Then they hit a last sequence, that last 10-minute sequence.
Yep. Yeah. I'll tell you, the most intense...
Right.
Sorry, one of the most intense scenes I have seen in cinema all year.
It's very... Because it really catch me, because I watch the thing, and then I was like, you look at the picture, they cut it smart, and then it hit you, it's like, oh shit, this is freaking bad. All right. And that was good. That whole thing coming full circle and milking it back, bringing it back full, that was brilliant.
Yeah. Speaking of the trailer, the part where he says monsters, like you think you're a monster. At first, when I saw that in the trailer, I thought that they just censor it for the sake of the trailer itself. But then he says it, but then in the context of what he's trying to say, I was like, this actually makes sense though.
Right.
It's like you monsters are treating us like monsters. I love that.
Right. Yeah, and they totally make that work. And then the final, again, they make it the workable comparison is like the end of Whiplash. That's what that felt like. It's the rap version of that. That's what it was. Much like if anybody remembers that brilliant drum solo at the end of Whiplash, which put Whiplash over the top for us. Like Whiplash was good until that, and then it goes from good to great. That is exactly what happened with this film. And yeah, I have to give this the GT. It's the highest possible score.
Nice. Somebody else loves this movie. Yes.
Yeah, no, it's really, really well done. I have to put it up there. And, I hear it, like, people saying, we haven't seen Sorry to Bother You, but people say, yeah, this was better than Sorry to Bother You. For those who have seen both films, I haven't seen Sorry to Bother You yet. I'm not sure if that's the case, but I wouldn't be surprised to hear that Sorry to Bother You is a step down from this. Although it's a different filming, but kind of talking about the same stuff. General themes and ideas.
Right.
This, really like this. Is probably going to get #1 for the year. Not sure.
Oh, okay.
Right now, we have nothing else on top for me. Like, I can't put anything above this right now. Like, it is the best movie of the year.
You will have a chance. I know, but I know, but still.
Yeah. Infinity War more than likely going to be on the top 10 list, but I mean, come on, Infinity War is like still, it have these problems and have this and that normal bullshit,
exactly.
right?
It still has little flaws.
Right. But yeah, I did not expect us to enjoy this so much. So yeah, for everybody who hasn't seen it yet, please go see this movie. It is fucking fantastic.
Yes, two people said it. 2 people have reviewed it here on the show. Please go and see this movie.
Yeah, I really thought it was strong. Really strong out. And it's the guy's first film, from what I understand. How old is this?
The guy who directed it?
Yeah.
I think he is in his 20s, though, if I'm not mistaken.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. I thought it was really well thought out. It was, again, it has its amateur moments, and it has mostly with the funny moments and the editing and so on. So it's one of those movies that is a slow build in that way. The scene in the beauty shop, and all of the scenes like, that's feeling like old Spike Lee. Like,
it does. Well, speaking of that,
I was laughing and chuckling along with it but the show really builds in those last 2 big moments, and it really susses itself out quite well.
Right. So not to spoil the movie for those who haven't seen it, right? But what do you think about the story, the flashback story? The one where it sums up what happened to these guys.
That wasn't like so mind blowing to me. It's like, it was just a thing that he did, and because this accident happened while he did what he did, it does play out the worst way. Again, that resolved itself better when it was time for the final encounter in the party.
Yeah.
Because again, they get into the race. That's why I like that relationship with when the girlfriend versus the friend. And two of them just kind of sniping at each other, but they really never. The two of those characters never hashed it out directly. You notice that they only use the main character as the proxy for their real grievances, which I liked. Because people just kind of operate in general, right? And I thought that was kind of clever in that sense. There's simple, good character building. Characterization is very strong in this, and that's it. So that's about it. The final sequence wasn't too shocking per se. Nothing about it was like, oh, wait, that's so mind-blowing. But it's just how the reverberations of it is what made it work.
Yes.
And I thought that was reasonably well done, especially, as I said. But again, the movie would have been fine if they ended it there with the party and him walking away from his friend, right? You thought that would be it. And then they hit you with that last piece, right? So, so last things last. Next perfect movie for me, I suppose it's a movie I have to look back up. Because, when I was still high from it, I did, my writings on it. And it was like, okay, I'm still high from it. But, and I will admit, full disclosure, I went in with a couple beers in me. So I suppose I enjoyed it a lot more than I supposed to, I suppose.
Yeah.
But, this was still thinking about it. Like, no, it still holds up in my head. If I watch it a second time, I might find a bunch of problems or whatever it is. But as for now, this was excellent.
Nice. Well done. So, like we said before, we both praise this movie. So, guys, what you all doing? Like stop listening to this recording and actually go and watch it, please.
If this have such a short run in theaters, but I recommend this one. This was excellent. Yeah.
Right. So sticking with theaters for a bit, right? So now I will talk about ghost stories, right? So true story. This is how I ended up stumbling upon this movie. So before I took in, I believe it was Ant-Man and the Wasp, right? This was during the World Cup, right? So at the theater that I went to, there was a big screen downstairs, and they were running one of the matches. I forget which match it was, right?
Right.
And to the right hand side, there's usually like these smaller screens that more or less show trailers or advertisements and whatnot. And I saw a trailer for a movie called Ghost Stories.
Yeah.
The thing that catch me about it was all these reviews that they sort of smuggled into this trailer now. So for one thing, you had stuff like best British horror for years and 4 stars and all that kind of stuff there.
Yeah, that's an immediate red flag for me when they start doing that in the trailers. It's like,
and it was it's almost like from the middle of the trailer to the end, because I actually rewatched it after I watched Ghost Stories. It's like that. It's just one review after the next, 4 star. Right. And then I saw a familiar face. I saw Martin Freeman. I was like, all right, well, Martin Freeman, you know what I mean? He wouldn't pick a bad movie, you know what I mean? So I was curious, you know what I mean? And then I mean, given the genre of it, I mean, it being horror, and then it coming out from IFC Midnight, so I was thinking about the whole film festival circuit, that whole midnight crowd. Now I was like, well, all right, this had to have something in it, Because I was thinking like with Upgrade, which we supposed to be getting at some point in time this month. That whole kind of midnight scene, resurfacing. We also did a review of a movie that was in that same circuit called Revenge, which I still think is one of the best movies of the year. Right. So I was like, all right, 4-star, 4-star, 4-star. Let me see what this movie is about, right? So this is an anthology, right? Okay. It's a ghost story anthology, right? And it centers on the character of Philip Goodman, who's played by Andy Nyman. He is Nyman, right? He is one of the 2 writers and directors of this movie, the second one being Jeremy Dyson, right? And it's adapted from the stage play.
Okay.
Stage play. All right. Okay. Psst. Word. All right. Didn't know that until the very end, right? So he is one of those. He's a professor, right? And he's a TV presenter. But what he does, he tries to debunk like certain like TV psychics or people who go around claiming themselves to be the biggest psychic in the world, right? So he would go kind of behind the scenes and just kind of make them out for the frauds, quote unquote, that they are, right? So basically, he looks up to this paranormal investigator, right? His name is Charles Cameron. He was big in the 70s. There's this nice little clip where he goes into this house. It's kind of like a Conjuring-esque kind of scenario where they make it look like it's from some old 70s TV recording, right? And he just kind of, but he more or less believes in the paranormal, but he's the kind of person that will come out and say, no, the brain tells you what it is you want to see now. It makes you believe what it is you want to believe, basically. I just paraphrasing here. So he kind of debunks it, but not too much. So he still kind of believes it, right? So later on, I believe it's like either in the late 70s or in the 80s, he suddenly disappeared. His car was found, but he wasn't there, right? And cut to now, to the present. And Philip gets this message, this tape recording from him. I was like, all right, well, I know you're a big fan of me. I see what you've been doing on TV with your show and whatnot. I want to talk to you. I want us to actually meet for the first time. So Philip drives up to his place, meets him. Right off the bat, Charles is like, well, yeah, I've seen your show. Your show is shit. Because the problem is that you just get off of just trying to debunk, psychics and paranormal investigators and whatnot. You don't believe in the same. You don't believe in the paranormal. You don't believe in the supernatural at all, right? So he gives him these 3 files, these 3 case files, basically, right? Because he just wants to prove to him everything that you thought isn't true actually is. There are supernatural beings out there, all that kind of stuff does exist. Of course, Philip being the skeptic is like, well, all right, whatever, I'll just go all with it. I just want to prove to you that you are wrong, so you are wrong, right? So the first case, for this, each kind of makes up the 3 stories in the film. So first case is centered on a guy called Tony Matthews, right? His wife died, and it's this whole kind of drama with him basically not visiting his daughter and some kind of drama and whatnot. So he works at this asylum for women, and there's this one scene where like he's in the asylum and then he's being haunted by this ghost. But how the movie kind of frames it is that Philip would go and meet the person in real, and then they will cut to the flashback, and that will actually be the story in the anthology, right? So the next story involves this young kid whose name is Simon Rifkin, and he has this weird obsession with the occultness. So in his room, he has all these pictures of like demons and like the devil and all that kind of stuff. And he even believes that there's some kind of ghost that's running about in his house, basically. I think it's with his brother who died or left or some kind of drama like that. I think it's because of his brother who left, but either that or just this ghost that's about, right? And his story involved him just kind of running away from his parents because he just had this bad relationship. Stole his dad's car, drove into the middle of the forest, the car shuts down, and then he's just being taunted by the spirits in the forest now. So it has this kind of Evil Dead kind of vibe, even right down to the point of the camera just zooming in quickly, kind of moving in like if it's at breakneck speed. Sorry. So it's really like a throwback to like the Evil Dead now, but kind of not that scary. But I'll get to that in a bit, right? And the last story centers on the character of Mike Priddle, who is played by Martin Freeman. And he is this rich guy. His wife basically had, trying to give birth, but just a lot of difficulties. But then eventually the child is born, and then ends up being deformed. We don't see the baby, but basically he just kind of talks about the story. And clearly he's just like really plagued by this. You know, it still haunts him
Right.
and disturbs him to this day. I'm not gonna say how his story ends, but basically, what we see is just him alone in his house, and then he is haunted by this ghost. And there's this twist that happens in the third act where you kind of realize, just like they keep hinting at you from the very beginning, nothing is what it seems. You know, the brain only tells you what it is you want to believe. And I'll just jump into the review from here. So, this is a film, boy, that clearly a lot of hype was put into it, but I mean
Right.
hype in the trailer itself there. So you know, you like, I would imagine anybody go into this thing expecting to be scared, expecting to be thrilled, expecting to feel their heart racing and all that kind of stuff. But I just came out of it like, yeah, whatever.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Right.
I mean, let me just get it good out of the way, right? So it's shot very well, very impeccable filmmaking, you know, from top to bottom. Love
Right.
the directing here, love the editing, just the framing of the shots, the mise en scène, you know, all that stuff. The acting is pretty solid, you know, especially from Annie Nyman, sorry, whatever his name is, who plays Philip Goodman. I thought that he was great, actually. Martin Freeman has a bigger role to play, even though he comes in that third story. I like what he does with his character there. Now, the other performers are decent for what it is, though. But I don't know, for me, like, I was watching this, and like at first I was telling myself, all right, this could have make for like a good Black Mirror episode, especially like those 90-minute episodes that, like, especially like what we saw with season 4, you know, especially with I think it's in the season premiere and the finale. No, not the premiere, sorry, the finale, which had like 3 stories, and then they somehow worked it in
all
together.
of them connect.
Yeah, all of them connect.
All the material, yeah.
Yeah. So, but then later on, you kind of later on I was telling myself, wait, these stories not really connecting. So, what's going on here? You know, are we getting a creep show kind of aesthetic here? Well, creep show, for those who don't know, is this 40s comic book. You know, kind of controversial at the time because of the content. I know the whole Comics Code Authority was more or less shaped because of that, because, you know, they didn't want kids to be reading all these lurid, evil stuff, right? And of course, there was the cult classic 1982 movie of the same name. But why I'm making that reference to Creepshow is that, you know, the stories are not connected at all. It just happens to be stories from the comic book series, right? But it just connected in the fact that it's from a comic book. That's the only chain that linking these things together, right? So, but with this movie here, I thought that all these stories would connect, and they kind of actually they do, but when you see the way how they do connect, is like, once again, yeah, all right, whatever. You know what I mean? But yeah, this is a pure example of where the hype does not live up at all. Right? I'm not talking about hype in terms of seeing a bunch of trailers for this, but hype in, you know, a lot of people praising this thing as one of the best movies of the year. I know a lot of people will say this is one of the best horror movies of the year, but them 4 stars by, like, yeah, freaking Peter Bradshaw of all people. Peter Bradshaw of The Guardian giving this thing such high praise, right? So, I don't know. This is like one of those kind of shows where you had to sit back and really wonder, okay, so I know British horror has its own aesthetic. American horror have its own aesthetic too. They kind of borrow from each other. So, you know, American will be more gory and visceral, but, you know, British horror could be the same thing too. But they don't necessarily have to be that way. You know, they have to have their own stamp on it, basically, right? And that's fine. And I get that vibe from this movie now, where basically it's like, we're not trying to do it like the Americans here. We want to do it like those old school gothic, you know, ghost story movies, you know, from the past. You know what I mean? Like The Uninvited, or, you know, just those thrillers basically. And I was feeling it, right? I was getting what they were trying to do here, but once again, with all this praise that they're giving it, you know, I was kind of expecting this thing to at least scare me, at least make me jolt, you know, at least make me jump. And I didn't really get much of that. Like, there were occasional jump scares here or there, but it's just like, yeah, but at the end of the day, it's just some ghost, you know what I mean? It's just stuff moving about. I mean, if you haven't seen like a Paranormal Activity movie, or if you find those movies to be incredibly scary, then yeah, you probably will be scared out your life for this one. But for someone like me, who's seen worse movies, who've seen like bloodier, more disturbing movies, this was pretty tame though. And I'm guessing that's the point of it, but I don't know. Given the level of quality here, they could have just kind of amped things up with the scares itself. Maybe that's not the point. Maybe it's because it's based on a stage play. It's not supposed to be scary. It's supposed to be more emotional. Because yes, ghost stories don't rely too much on gore or scares or whatnot. It's always about the emotional core underneath that. Like case in point, The Devil's Backbone, which Guillermo del Toro directed. I think it's back in 2001. It does have some scary moments, but it's not so much about the scares. It's about the emotional stuff that's going on, and that's fine. Okay, cool. But I don't know. Once again, because you're hyping this thing so much, I don't know. For me, I just kind of came out of it wishing that I enjoyed this thing more. I wish that I got more out of it. Sorry, this is pretty tame. I wish it wasn't like that. But I mean, for what it's worth, sorry, it is what it is. But I really don't think it is the best British horror for years. I just think about that quote, for example, best British horror for years.
Yeah.
Like you telling me it won't have any other horror movie to come out of England that could top that? Come on, like any. I imagine by the end of this year and all too, it might have some British horror movie that could top this. Clearly, this is one where it was just a lot of hype, just a lot of praise stacked up in it. But then when you see this, like, yeah, you know what I mean? It could have just played out as just some Twilight Zone episode, like some extended Twilight Zone episode. But for me, this is just meh. So I give this a light to decent 3 out of 5. It's alright. If you're a horror connoisseur, if you just want to see something a little bit different, if you just getting fed up of the blood and the guts and the Americanness of horror movies, then I guess you'll like it. You know, it's like, oh, well, this is a change of pace. All right, cool. But other than that, if you're looking for scares, if you really want something that will, like, disturb then look elsewhere, because you're not going to get it with ghost stories.
All right.
Sorry to say. Really wanted to put this on my top list, but I can't even put this as an honorable mention. I'm sorry. Like, the more I think about it, the less I remember from it. That's just how much of a letdown it is. You know what I mean? But if you happen to see it and you enjoy it, well, props to you. But for me, I wanted more, man. I just really wanted more.
Yeah. Well, okay. I didn't know much about this movie. I was going to take in Thoroughbreds, which I didn't get a chance to see. Sadly, that'll probably be next week. Another movie I didn't get. Another movie that I could go and see, but I'm not gonna see it this week. I get a chance to see, which is Hereditary. I heard there's a lot of decent stuff about that. We saw, both of us watched Thriller, or I don't know what the hell to call it because it's pretty goddamn dark.
Yes, it is.
Yeah, a psychological thriller / depression character piece called You Never Really Hear.
Yes.
Starring Joaquin Phoenix.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, Matthew, you want to tell us what the hell is going on in this story and why it's so goddamn dark and why it's so goddamn good? Because it's pretty good.
I'll do my best here. I'll do my best here, right? So it is written and directed by Lynne Ramsay, right? Now, I have never seen a movie from her before. I heard a lot of great things about her movie, We Need to Talk About Kevin. A lot of people.
Oh no! Sorry, I saw that. That was great.
Oh, you did? Okay, well,
that's great.
Yeah.
Yes, okay. It's the same person. Okay, I didn't pin the name down. Okay. Well, all right, that makes kind of sense now.
Right. Okay. Right. So going in, never saw a Lynne Ramsay movie before, right? Oh, and by the way, it's based off of a novel. Sorry, by the of the same name by Jonathan Ames, right?
Okay. I didn't know all that. All right, so it's a book then. All right, no see.
Yeah, it's based on a book, right? So.
Okay, cool.
Story-wise, what is this movie about, Mike? Well, we are introduced to the character of Joe. That's his name, Joe. No surname, nothing. Just Joe, right? Who's played by Joaquin Phoenix, right? The man is a hitman, right? Let me just say he's a hired gun, right?
It does thing. It's unclear what the job is. Like, he hitmanish, but he just do other stuff. It's just general kind of pseudo proto hitman work.
Yeah.
You're really sure. Because he's not clearly hitman. It's not like, he needs a target and so on. So because he just do stuff. Whatever. Go ahead now.
Yeah, exactly. He's the kind of person that you call like once you know the guy, you could call him and be like, if he trusts you, sorry, you'll be like, all right, I need you to do this job for me. I'll pay you like X amount of money. Cool. All right, and he does it, right? Now, his thing, right? His thing is, well, his shtick is that the guy uses a hammer drill.
Yeah.
Man doesn't use a gun. He's not methodical like Leon from The Professional. The man just uses a hammer.
Which film kind of reminds me of a little bit.
Yeah. It does actually. Yeah. It does with
especially coming on to the end. Yeah.
Yeah. Right. So basically, he does a job. We're not sure what the job is, but he ends up doing this particular job, right? And then later on, we see how his day-to-day life is. So he takes care of his elderly mom. But he's always like conflicted by all these flashbacks, and it's never really clear what happened in the past. But from what I could tell, it's just incredibly messed up, graphic, really disturbing stuff.
Because at first, the first time you see what's going on, you think, it was just some like spousal abuse / domestic violence stuff. I realized what was going on is probably a lot darker than that, and it's unclear, but it's clearly traumatized him, and it's affecting him now. Blah blah blah. Takes pills, depressed. Go ahead.
Yeah. So basically he's hired by this guy John McCleary. He's played by John Doman. Last time I saw him was in the great, excellent masterpiece of a TV show called The Wire. Right, so basically he's a go-to guy. He's like, all right, well, this man want this job done, so go to this address, talk to this guy, right? And this guy is a New York senator, a state senator, right? And his daughter disappeared. Well, she ran away from home, and he believes that he finds out that she's being held. Basically that she's a prostitute, right? So she's working for this guy in this apartment building, right? So he hires Joe basically to go and get her by any means necessary. And he does the job, goes inside, uses his hammer to good use, and saves the girl. But then things kind of get from bad to worse, because the same guys who were working at that same place are, basically tracking down Joe, and, anybody close to him gets whacked. That's all we'll say.
Yeah.
And it's just basically about him and then eventually they kidnap the girl again. So now Joe is on this path of revenge to not just to take down the people who, killed people that were close to him, but also to rescue the girl again. And in the process of all that, we, as you say, this is a character piece, we do see him really wrestling with these dark demons inside of him. And it's just a matter of whether he will rise above those demons, or if he will succumb to their,
or if he will sink to the bottom.
Yes. I see what you did there. Yes. So, I want to hear your thoughts on You Were Never Really Here first, and then I'll share my thoughts. But talk about.
I thought this was really solid filmmaking. I really liked it.
I like how you said solid filmmaking. That's a strong point.
I really enjoyed this one. It's great, a great character piece. It's short. That is a big plus for me. So the film is like 90 minutes or around that, a little over 90 minutes.
Yeah, it's about 90 minutes. Yeah.
Yeah, and I don't have you see stuff like that when you just tell a story really quickly and pace itself out. So you have this movie didn't feel like it had any fat on it to me. I can't think of anything I would have cut out, or this take on too long, or this went on too long. No, everything served its purpose. It was really meticulous. And then the themes and ideas they were going through, it's really, really dark stuff. It's probably one of the darkest films I've watched in years. But it didn't bother me too much, because these ideas aren't new, but it's just executed very well. And especially with Joaquin Phoenix, he acts the hell out of this movie. I'll say I had only one little critique, couple little nitpickies, which is when it's come down to the actual violence itself, to showing it looks a little on the fake end of things. It really don't look like he hitting them people with a hammer hard enough. So you notice most of the violence is off camera. You notice that?
Yeah, which I'll talk about, but continue.
Right. Then the little girl, even though it reminds me of Natalie Portman in Leon, Professional, she's not the best of actresses. Thought she was kind of them lines was kind of flat, but that's about it. Everything else was this was just, I wouldn't say brilliant or anything like that, but just really competent. And it's itself out, it tells its story, we get in and out, and as I said, it's very depressing. Because I think the main thing is, in terms of the depression, is the loneliness of the whole thing, right? This character just really, really seems to suffer from that loneliness and isolation, and you really get that across in this, which is, he's in a big city, and whatnot, but at no point, the way everything is shot and played out and framed, is that you really feel like he could best as well be in a ghost town.
Yeah.
Right. You really feel like if this dude alone and he really everything, how all the angles and how everything is cut and shot together, you really feel like, yeah, this dude, he just alone in the world. Like it have nobody else. And you really get a sense of isolation from this. That's why it works. Especially, and then what made me think like that is because of that last shot, no? That last scene where he was in his head and then it cuts back. And it's it's just about him being kind of lonely to me. That's how it came across. Right. And it's a really, really dark, violent scene, but it's when they flip it on you and say, okay, that's what's going on. All right. You see, they frame it really, really well.
Right.
And yeah, this was a strong outing. This might get it's a top 10 so far in the year for me. I didn't expect to enjoy this much. I heard good news about it and I was like, all right, let me give it a chance eventually. And yeah, I'm going to rate this quite high, but you go ahead and tell me what you think about it.
All right. So I just want to talk about the two flaws, right? Two nitpicks that you had, right? For one thing, the actress, right? The one who plays the girl. Who is Russian, and she is actually 15 years old. I could have swear that she was a little bit older. Yeah.
Okay. Well, okay. They actually have underage. All right, problem.
Yeah. So I know, right? Like really. Yeah, like really, really brave.
Or the Jodie Foster thing.
Yeah, right. Like Jodie Foster from Taxi Driver, which I will talk about, right? So she reminded me actually of another character from another Hitman movie, right? So please tell me you've heard of Ghost Dog Way the Samurai.
Yes, of course.
Yes.
Of course I've heard of it.
One of my all-time favorite movies, period.
Yes, me too.
To me, this is like if you're a hip-hop head, you listen to Jizz's Liquid Swords.
Yeah.
That's the movie. Yeah. Liquid Swords, the movie, is Ghost Dog, right? So remember there was the daughter of the mafia guy, right? The one who was always reading the book, and she would talk in these kind of vague. She always talk in this kind of vague way. You know what I mean? Almost like she was detached from the world. That's how that girl reminded me of now. Like someone who was just there in the world, but she kind of detached herself because of the situation that she is. She just kind of come off a little flat, a little weird, but it's how she reacts to things.
Yeah, you made a good point there because two things I noticed about the film. This movie felt like a mix between. You know, it's a good point to bring up that because thinking it has a Paul Thomas Anderson vibe to things. But I was thinking, you know, when you say Jim Jarmusch, it's like, yeah, it have a little Jim Jarmusch to it.
Yes.
It's like Paul Thomas Anderson mixed with Jim Jarmusch, mixed with a lot of antidepressants, right? Or at least the need for antidepressants, I should say.
Right.
That's what this movie feels like. Yeah, you're right. The Ghost Dog point is a good highlight. Now thinking about it. Yeah, go ahead.
Right. And right, so the next nitpick you had was basically of the violence, right, being off screen. Right. No. Yeah.
Well, okay. I should say the violence off screen I didn't really mind, but you could tell, you get the feeling that the reason it's done off screen is because they couldn't convincingly pull off the violence on screen, because the violence that we see on screen is not convincing. So I get the feeling that they pick up, all right, we're not getting these takes right, or whatever the dailies were. And they say, all right, like, just decide to cut it on and put it as off-screen shots. You get the feeling that's what it was.
All right.
Whatever. That's how I see, yeah. Because the little violence we saw when he was hammering guys to death in the beginning, that was kind of unconvincing. Right? It's a good scene. I like how it's shot with the whole CCTV cam approach.
Oh, I actually love that sequence.
Right. I like that as well. I like that whole awkward angles kind of look to everything. Because you really get that feel to it. But it wasn't convincing in terms of the actual action and blocking of the scene. And then when they decide to work around it with the violence off camera, it helps the situation, even though you could tell it's a workaround. At least that's how it felt to me. Yeah.
All right. Well, I didn't look at it like that though. It's all right. So that's the kind of break away from a little bit, right? So we have to talk about the two sets of people that will talk about this movie, right? So there will be the mainstream people who will go into this thing expecting some Hollywood-esque action thriller. And come out of it like, what kind of crap is this? Why keep cutting the violence? Why is this?
Because it's because as you think with this character, he's like a really downplayed, really goddamn depressing version of the Equalizer, right?
Yes,
a little bit, right?
Yeah. Why it is Joaquin Phoenix? Why is he given that much dialogue in the movie? You know what I mean? All that kind of stuff, right? So there'll be the crowd that will go in expecting your average, movie about a hitman or at least some guy who had to kill people to survive or to save someone, and then come out of it like okay, what is this, right? And then you'll have the more art house crowd that will look at this and be like, wow, this is so amazing. I never would have thought about editing a scene with a bunch of guys being hammered down like that, you know, especially with the power of the CCTV. I thought that was incredibly clever the way he did that.
It's an excellent use of CCTV.
Yes.
Really
especially, and the use of music and the way how they cut the music. I love that as well, right?
Right. So that's the music. The music part was important because at the end when they showed who was doing the music, I was like, all right, it really reminded me of a little bit of Paul Thomas Anderson because it was Johnny Greenwood. Johnny Greenwood did the music for this, and I was like, all right, cool.
And I thought his score was great as well, though. It's very very metallic, very minimalist, but it grows and it gets really, really tense. So.
Yeah, that's his shtick anyway. So he, you know, all of his talent just lends his films in that way, really, really intelligently. And I really like how it was used in this.
Right.
Yeah, go ahead.
What else was I going to say about the music? Also like that it feels like this is the kind of music that you would be hearing in the brain of Joe. When he's dealing with his day-to-day life, this is how... This is the soundtrack to his life. It's very erratic and just messed up. You know, that's how it feels
that's what makes it work so well, is that it's this really... you really get the sense of an internal... trauma, like horror. And again, it's unclear why this is the case, you know, with his childhood. They never really spelled that out. You could kind of piece it together. It's implied that someone like him killed his father or something like that. It's unclear because we see a woman under the table. It's like, wait, is that the mother? Who's that? You know, you're not sure. And see a guy with a bag on his head. We're not sure who that is either. It's like, okay, was it that, you know, what going on? Go ahead.
Right. So yes, you'll have those two crowds for this movie, right? I really like the fact that, you know, the way how basically we saw into the world, or into the mind, I should say, of Joe, that we know that he's the type of person that will do serious damage to somebody, that we don't even have to see him do it, but you know it's there, right? And that is so incredible, though.
Yeah, and we get that sense of it because you see, not only he's a big dude, you know, at least how the film frames him. He's like, he looked like a dude that could do some damage. Yes. Even without you know, without this hammer, without the Thor's hammer, right?
He looks like he could beat a man to death if he were to.
No, but they had this like little short scene where he was waiting for a guy who was late with drugs because he needed, and he just you know, again hit the guy in the chest immediately and say,
waiting.
Right. I love that. Great little character moment now. It works, you know, stuff like that. And the guy was like really dismissive about it now.
Well, that caught me off guard. I didn't know what was
so
happening. It was like, don't keep me waiting. I'm like, what?
Yeah, that's escalated so immediately now. And that's why they make this character work so well for me now. It's a really strong internal piece. It's very, very dark. It don't pull no punches. Like, you don't even try to like make it. You know where you're going. It's really this internal, and as you know, the old joke, the daughter hell is locked from within. And they really get that sense of it. Is that this dude? Yeah, boy, he really have little to go on, and then the little he had was gone and taken from him, and they made that work very, 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 very well.
Totally agree.
Go ahead.
So, but now I could talk about the good stuff, right? Because all right, well, what I would say about the violence itself, because like I said, because of how it internalizes on Joe, you don't even have to see the violence and know that it's there. But I mean, maybe if I watch it again, I could tell. All right, maybe that one hit to the head with the hammer could have looked a little bit better, a little bit more real, I guess. But just cut it at just the right moment now.
Right, as I said, they when they cut, because usually when most of the violence, especially from second act and third act, you just see a dude on the ground and a big blotch on his head, so you know you get hit with that thing. But that is only the opening sequence when you see him swinging, and to me it was just not swinging hard enough, or at least physically you're not getting the sense of it to just see. That's it. It's a nitpick. It's not a big deal. But you know, stuff like this, because the movie's supposed to be relatively grounded, you notice stuff like that more.
Right.
That's just my how I just look at films, and that's it. But to me, I have a hammer like that. It's that hardware store hammer. Yeah, that shit heavy. I accidentally dropped that shit on my foot once. Like, I was really in pain for a while. If you get hit with that from somebody who's strong, you're done. You are done. That gun just penetrated his skull like nothing, like an egg. Right. And that's basically what to these dudes, right? And he was really, what I liked about him is that they didn't do the whole, Equalizer super competent thing.
Yes,
he's just a smart, self-aware, situational awareness that they made work, right? He know the house better than the other two. Like there's a scene involving the mom, which was really dark and really, really sad. And
that was messed up, yeah.
But the thing is, he know the house better than the other, just two other people that he had to encounter. They made that work, and little stuff like that was just like fine. I didn't have a big problem with any of the violence, and they made it work. It felt plausible. It felt grounded. Nothing about it felt like too outlandish. Again, it's art house Equalizer. That's what this film is. Right?
Well, good thing you said that, art house Equalizer, because that's how it feels like, and I think that is what will appeal to the art house girl. Like, ooh, I didn't know you could have a movie about a guy like this and shoot violence like that. Wow, that's so amazing.
Right.
You know what I mean? But at first, it caught me by surprise. Because I was expecting this thing to be, very visceral and brutal. And emotionally it is brutal, but like the violence itself is just like there's probably one or two graphic scenes, but not anything to really say it's so bloody or whatnot, right? But once again, because it's centered on the mind of the character, it's way more effective, even though you don't see it. So now we'll get to the good stuff, right? The great stuff. Joaquin Phoenix. Oh my god. Powerhouse of a performance right here, boy.
Yeah, I think he could probably get nominated for this. This was a really, really strong.
I'd be happy if he did. Yeah, but I just think about the release date of the movie now. Like a movie that comes out in April that have a chance.
It's up to them. It's up to them to push for that. I mean, but to me, the performance sells it. It's not something that he will get looked over necessarily. I mean, because it was a really strong solo piece. I mean, it's something that was just. Yeah, like especially coming to the end with him pulling off his shirt and just melting down, they make it work.
He has the quietness of Ghost Dog for one thing. He has that mental complexity of like a Travis Bickle from Taxi Driver. One, by the way, they do make these great references to Taxi Driver. For one thing, like the POV shots of him driving through the city and whatnot. Them setting it in New York, the whole thing with him and this underage girl involved in prostitution, all that kind of stuff. That's very Taxi Driver. And then also too the whole state senator stuff, the whole election stuff, the whole that did remind me of Taxi Driver as well.
Right, so the plot kind of confused me at the end because I'm not sure whose throat was slit exactly at the end there. Who was that? That wasn't the guy who jumped off the building?
I'm assuming that it was someone who was working with the senator.
Oh, okay. Because the scene when he was in the train and you see his eyes darting about, and the whole point of that scene is having him like piecing together what the fuck going on now.
Yes.
And so I was unclear as what the big reveal or the twist was, and then at the end she gets grabbed back, but she's the one who ended up finishing off the dude. But you're not sure. Like I forget who that guy was. And again, I don't know if I'm racist, but some of these dudes looking similar to me.
I know, right?
So that's why I was confused as to who was who exactly for a while there. But again, it wasn't a big problem because it didn't really matter actually plot wise. It wasn't that relevant, and so I didn't really care. Again, everything was all about what going on in Joaquin Phoenix's head.
Right.
Anyway, emotionally.
I'll talk about that scene there in the end, right? So back to Joaquin Phoenix. Brilliant performance. He was so incredibly dark too. Like sometimes it's just but like you're just captivated in all of what you see here, but then when you understand what's going on internally, but it's like you feel sorry for the man at times, but then oftentimes it's like it's almost like the man just like reveling in his own insanity and in his own darkness. You know what I mean? It's kind of weird.
Right, no, I didn't get that at all because to me it was just this dude was just totally troubled and just there's no reveling at all going on.
No, what I mean is basically the way how he uses violence, right? It's just like the violence is just a product of him just having to do that shit. Like he really just gets a sense of it being a raw utility. Right.
Like because again, it's unclear why does he would get into this job at all. Like you could tell a person like this who is this. I'm not sure how stable he is, but I'll categorize him as somewhat unstable. He can't have a normal job. Period. He can't even like run Uber or anything like that. And you're right in the sense that it's quite possible that it's not so much reveling, but it's like this is the only way to use this and project it outwards.
Yeah, this is how I could channel all this rage it's said about. There's really nothing else I could do here, right?
Right.
But yeah, boy, his performance is incredible. His dialogue is very like subdued, but I love that about the character as well. It's very physical, but you do really do feel the mental anguish that's going on inside of him. And that's,
Right.
where credit is due. Lynne Ramsay, though. Like, this is the first movie I've seen from her, and I'm like, now I want to see the rest of your filmography.
Yeah.
This is one of the most impressive movies I have seen all year. Lynne Ramsay is the truth. I really want to see more of her work, boy.
Solid filmmaking, yeah.
Yeah, solid filmmaking. Right. Well, good thing you bring back that up. The choices that she make, whether it is editing, whether it's directing, music, just a lot of creative choices that the average Hollywood filmmaker who, bound by the studio to make a certain product will not do. She makes all these clever choices, even right down to having the violence be off screen, all that kind of stuff. And I'm like in amazement, but like, wow. Nobody does that. I've never seen a filmmaker do something like that. And this is just British or Scottish? I'm not too sure. Yeah, Scottish actually. But yeah, boy, this is somebody who clearly knows the art of film, and she applies it.
Yeah.
Even though the story is pretty simple, it's pretty basic. If you've seen Leon Professional, you know what to expect, right? And I like the fact that the movie doesn't go out of its way to try to be too complex and make this big social commentary. No, it tells a story, but the real complexity lies in Joe and what's going on mentally. I really love that. The side performance, they do what they're supposed to do, but I like the fact that it's not really about them. It's not like I could say that anybody really phoned it in there, even though you had your issue with the girl who, the girl who, Nina, that's her name, the one that Joe has to save. But like I say, because she kind of detaches herself from from reality, I kind of understood why she was acting like that. Now for and speaking of directing, cinematography, excellent.
Yeah, not absolutely brilliant. There's just one scene that's quite good, as I said, involving some sinking, right?
Yes, that's sinking scene, though. How they do that, I'm not too sure, but it's probably the one, probably the standout moment in this entire movie.
That's the only big money shot for me at the end. Yeah, that's it. Everything else was still kind of bog standard. Again, it's more the editing that made it work. Especially when he was in the car and he had the nice sound editing and the transitions worked with that. All of that worked, but not necessarily particularly brilliant cinematography. Just it's fine. I didn't think that.
Yeah,
I don't think of it in that way. That's the solid use of bokeh, stuff like that. It's fine.
Right. But yeah, okay. The editing is tight. It's it's very, very effective. It really adds a lot to the movie and the whole mind state of Joe. But last thing I just want to say before we get to rating here, that ending, which I don't want to delve too deep into, but really it more shows what I loved about the ending here, or at least that decision that a certain character makes, is that person's use of violence, right? So in the case of Joe, where it's like, well, it's necessary, there's nothing else he could do, so he kind of has to do it, and it kind of helps easy demons down, but it's not enough, unfortunately. This person does it to survive, basically. It's just one decision that character makes. And I love that scene where it kind of stops there, because Joe is surprised that it actually happened. And the character says something, I don't want to paraphrase what it is, but it just kind of sums up really one main theme of what the movie was about now, with all this darkness inside of him and how he channels it through these violent acts. But it's just really for him to kind of just have a reason of being. In this case, with this character, is really to survive, and it was just so simple. And that's where the movie really, really hit me, though. And then, the ending that you mentioned before, because something really dark does happen, but I love how they kind of flip it. In the end, that was great. And even that final shot, though, simple as it is, and there's the use of sound editing there, I thought was like next to perfect.
Music right at the end there, because it's like, okay, the quote unquote light at the end of the tunnel is not a cliche necessarily, but it's done very, very well.
Yeah, and it's simple. I mean, it's open to interpretation, but I just love how simple it is. It's just like, all right, this could be the end, but you want it to be the end. Maybe it may not be in the long run, but look, at the end of the day, the guy needs we all need redemption, and that's really the main theme of the movie.
There's a redemptive aspect to it going on there, because it didn't feel like, oh well, this is the end, but the way how they cut it and do it is quite well done.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, he's a guy who busts people's head with hammers, but
Yeah.
you know, as the classic Raging Bull taught us, everybody have a chance of redemption, man. So
Right.
so for me though, while I will not put it as the best movie of 2018, I do see why a lot of people have praised it. And for sure, I don't know about you, Ricardo, but for sure, this gotta be in my top 10 list for sure. I can't say it will be top 5. I can't say maybe might get, maybe with a couple more viewings I might put it there. But yeah, for now, this is hands down one of the best movies of the year.
Yes.
Just though, I would say for the non-initiated in art house films, don't go in expecting the Equalizer 2, right? This is not Hollywood action movie. This is art house, thriller hitman flick. Basically, that's what it is, right? But go in expecting to see something unique, something different, but just a unique twist on a familiar story, right? And you will thoroughly enjoy it. So for me, this gets a strong 4 to 5, man. This is definitely one that you need to check out.
Yeah, I give this a solid IMAX. At least the high score ranking. I just give it. This is a really, really good rating. Wherever you could see this, go see it. But I thought this was really strong as well. Very strong outing. When you mentioned that it's we need to talk about Kevin, I was like, oh, okay, that makes sense, because that movie is also like one of the darkest movies I've seen in a while.
Right.
As well.
Now I need to see that movie. I really need to see that movie.
That movie will probably, well, at the time, that movie will probably keep you up at night. That one was creepy and fucked up as well. This one was pretty fucked up and pretty dark. Is about the emotions and this person going through a lifetime of nightmarish scenarios.
Yes.
And made this really work in the context of all what was the whole situation and what was said and done.
Right. And the beauty of the movie, by the way, is that it doesn't stop to tell you this is what happened here. You need to piece together what happened, but at least have an idea. It gives you an idea of what happened, but it doesn't. You don't need to kind of figure everything out. It's just like, this is what happened. Now I understand why he's like that. You know what I mean?
Because they do that intermittent stream of consciousness moments,
yes.
And that I thought worked quite well. So that's about it. I get us a pretty good score. I really liked it. Again, it'll probably make my top 10 more than likely for the end of the year. Not sure, but the year trying to wrap up and some stuff, starting to come out now. Like, okay, we're starting to see some good shit. Let's go.
And last, I would say though, this is definitely not for the faint-hearted though. This is one that will get into your skin, into your brain. So if you don't like those kind of shows, kind of go in.
Exactly. Because the thing with dark stuff is that it have to be something you're not prepared for. So for me, it was, I knew it was dark, and nothing it does is so dark or so shocking to me personally.
Unwatchable dark.
Right. But it's just very well done. Because none of it is shock value either. That's what makes it work.
Neither, yeah.
It's what makes it work is like, it's in fact, a lot of it is kind of matter of fact, or like it's just a logical conclusion of this dude's mental state, right? Mm-hmm. That's why a lot of this works. It's like, this is what you would do, and that is what you would do. And then they do a good job of explaining why the police isn't really involved. You see that.
that
job
scene,
and so it works in that sense. So I really enjoy this one.
All right, nice.